Let's get a sense from you of what you're expecting tomorrow, what you'll be, I guess, not listening for, but looking for in the statement to follow.
Yeah, so in short, not much.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't actually expect there's going to be that much of a change in the statement, partly because the way the statement is now, they've given themselves room to hike if necessary, right? So they want to preserve that optionality. They're not going to foreclose March, which is something markets are speculating about. Whether they're going to signal something happening in March. We don't think there's going to be a change. And part of the reason for that is there are two reasons, right? One is there's really no inflationary pressure apparent yet. You saw core PCE, it kind of disappointed. We think it actually dips in the first quarter before starting to rise again. So there's no pressure for them to move fast. Second thing, as you mentioned, there's a lot of policy uncertainty, right? So we don't quite know what is actually going to get implemented, both from the fiscal side and some of these other policies we've been talking about, like immigration and trade and so on. So I think it's a wait and watch for now.
Yeah.
How are you so adamant that there aren't any inflation pressures when we're seeing inflation pressures building now?
Well, so you might be talking about what we saw in Europe today. Some of this is headline, right? So this is something everyone has been expecting. It's largely base effects from energy, right? And generally, central bankers will tend to look through that. So if you look at core dynamics, we're not really seeing that sort of movement. If you look at a bottom-up analysis of what the basket
Well, let's
contains,
just dip into my terminal and look at the five-year forward, which has been rising now in the last few days. We're coming down slightly here, but you can see, we're way above where we were.
That's correct. So in market-based inflation expectations have gone up. But I guess the real question is what's happening to the actual inflation readings that you're getting. And again, if you looked at where core PCE was the last reading we got, it actually dropped to 1.3%. Right? So there's still some room to the Fed's target. And again, even that rise that you've seen is from extraordinarily low levels that you showed me in terms of market expectations. Historically, they used to be around 2.5%. So we're still 50 basis points or so below those historical levels as well.
Help me with an exchange from a press briefing just a few days ago now. A reporter asked the new press secretary about the unemployment rate. Said, what is the unemployment rate? How do you gauge it? And there was a lot of back and forth there. Do you expect that we'll see the Fed soon say that we've reached full employment? In other words, there's been so much of a conversation about the politicization of the Fed. Is this a chance for policymakers to put a flag down and say that we've reached full employment?
Well, there's some Fed members who are saying that already,
yeah.
Right? So it's really a question of whether the majority of the Fed committee will come to that conclusion. I don't think there's a disagreement that they're close to full employment. And every economist there will acknowledge that you really don't know what full employment is until after the fact, right? So they realize they're close, but still, the question is, what about the other part? Are you seeing inflationary pressures? As long as you don't see it, they have some room. And I think that's the operating assumption at this point.
Core PCE deflator year over year 1.6% yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're approaching 2%.
Well, there's still plenty of room to go from 1.6 to 2%, right? And again, if you look at what is likely to move these metrics, we think, in fact, that these are going to decline over the first quarter before actually going back up again. So this is much more slow-moving than the headline. You've seen headline numbers bounce quite a bit, and all of that is really energy.